Much for joining us today for our session on tackling social isolation and loneliness. I just would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which I'm on today, the Yagara and Turrbal people, and pay my respects to elders past and present. At QCOS thanks First Nations peoples for the gift of the Uluru Statement from the Heart, and we're committed to walking alongside First Nations peoples and working towards representation, Makarrata and treaty. I would also like to extend that respect to any First Nations peoples joining us online today, and I would like to encourage you all to please use the chat function to let us know which traditional lands you're dialing in from today. It's always a great way to see the breadth all over Queensland and where we're all joining from. So I know some of you have attended our social isolation and loneliness community of practice before, but for some of you it might be your first time attending. So thank you for being here today. The aim of this community of practice is to provide an opportunity to share experiences, resources and learnings on social isolation and loneliness, and also best practice ideas for building community connection. So for today's session, we're looking at how community-led innovation can make a difference in addressing social isolation and loneliness. And we'll be joined by 3 organisations who are recipients of the Communities Innovation Fund. So we'll have Kelly Eyre, who's from the Mareeba Shire Council, and we'll be talking about the Go After Your Goals program. We'll have Kelsey Beaumont from You Belong Australia talking about the Good Neighbours program, and we'll also have Naz Mukhtar from Ethni Inc talking about the program called MAO, and it was formerly called Wildflower Sisters. So the Communities Innovation Fund provides funding for innovative projects that create meaningful connections for Queenslanders experiencing social isolation and loneliness. So Kelly, Naz and Kelsey will be sharing the community-led approaches they've taken in their projects, and they'll also talk about the outcomes they're achieving and what they've learned along the way. Unfortunately, we won't have time to open up for questions today because we've got quite a packed schedule, but if you do have any questions you'd like to ask the panelists, please feel free to pop it in the chat and we'll be able to get you a response after the event today. So after we hear from Kelly, Naz and Kelsey, we'll then have the opportunity to connect in smaller breakout rooms and we'll be able to exchange ideas about the various innovative projects to addressing social isolation and loneliness that we've seen in our own communities as well. So now I'm just going to hand over to Kelsey first, and Kelsey will be providing a bit of an overview on the Good Neighbours program. Thanks, Kelsey.
Thanks so much, Sarah. Nice to meet you all. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that the traditional custodians of the land I'm joining from today are the Quandamooka people of the Wynnum area, and I pay my respects to their elders past and present, and extend that respect to any First Nations people joining us today. My name is Kelsey, and I'm the Director of Programs here at You Belong Australia. We're a local not-for-profit operating in the Toowoomba and Gold Coast regions, working to welcome, connect and empower newly arrived refugee waymaker families who are finding belonging and safety here in Australia. Just as a vocab note before I start, here at You Belong, we refer to refugees as waymakers, as we believe this describes the agency and courage involved in their journey. So if you hear me using that term, just know that I'm referring to our incredible newly arrived community. We feel incredibly lucky to have received the support of the Community Innovation Fund in launching our Good Neighbour initiative, which is our answer to the social isolation and loneliness we've been witnessing in the communities we service. Social isolation and loneliness are urgent issues within the Waymaker community, not just because they're inherently human issues, but because they undermine a sense of belonging that is essential for resettlement and recovery. Many waymakers come from collectivist cultures where community support is woven into the fabric of daily life. Oh yes, there's a lovely photo of our team there. And so there's a really abrupt shift that happens when they're often in regional, often fragmented support landscapes that can leave families feeling unseen, disconnected and overwhelmed. Add to this the barriers of language, transport in regional communities like Toowoomba, and cultural unfamiliarity, and that isolation compounds So our program was born out of the belief that sometimes what people need most is not another service or even a caseworker, but a friend. So our Good Neighbour initiative is essentially a two-pronged approach to tackling isolation and loneliness, where we both extend our services out into the community, in the homes of newly arrived family, and bring people together through recurring community events. So the first element of our service delivery, as you can see in this lovely photo here, is essentially a home visits program where our incredible team of volunteers are sent into family homes delivering bags with basic supplies and food. And so when our team are first made aware throughout our network of new Waymaker families, we call them with a brief survey to hear their self-identified level of social isolation and any immediate needs that our team can help with. And then a volunteer team is then matched with that family and they visit them from then on. Over the month of December, we sent out more than 100 bags to 100 families, and a few teams are going out each week at the moment. So although our target demographic as an organisation is families within the first 1 to 3 years of arrival in Australia, I'm sure I don't need to explain that social isolation and loneliness isn't time-bound. And so we go where there's need, and are often referred to families who have been here for much longer than this. The second part of our approach is our community events, which bring people together, facilitate connection, and provide basic support. So we've hosted some information sessions relevant to the community, including things about women's health or getting your driver's license, and also regularly host welcome picnics. So there's a lovely photo here of some people dancing, and that was at our most recent welcome picnic earlier this year. And we had a lovely day in one of Toowoomba's beautiful parks, where we saw about 200 members of the local and Waymaker community come together to celebrate friendship with music, dancing, games, and incredible food. And these events have also been an important way for us to facilitate language connections for these new families, many of whom are at the very beginning of their English journey. So my role is I get the privilege of getting to meet and hear stories of both our volunteer and Waymaker communities, and to see firsthand the impact of these programs. I recently met a lady who told me that the volunteer who visited her home has become her best friend in Australia. And I had a lovely story from a volunteer who said that she basically, due to the hospitality of the family she visited, left with more food that she came with. So social isolation and loneliness is not limited by language, culture, class, gender, or age. And our volunteers are equal recipients of the connection happening in this program. So it's our belief that it's really just our role to facilitate and initiate a deeply human desire to be a good neighbour. And so we're lucky to have seen the impact spiral on from there. But yeah, that's a little summary from me. Looking forward to hearing from the others.
Thank you so much, Kelsey. That was a fantastic overview. And I really loved what you said around how sometimes people don't need another service. It's sometimes just something as simple as connection that they need. So thank you so much for sharing that. Naz, I'm going to hand over to you next to give us an update on your program. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. And hi, everyone. I am joining from Logan for MAWA. MAWA is a newly social enterprise that started this year. And I think from the results and the feedback that we have gotten from community so far, one that I'm really grateful that it has come to fruition. So initially, MAWA started as a flower making bouquet where we wanted to pretty much get the aunties together so they can have tea and coffee with the young women and just create an intergenerational dialect, because that's what we saw was happening. There was a really huge gap between the aunties in our communities and their daughters. And we wanted to facilitate that conversation between the young women and the older generation, because we really think there's an important education or even just connection that is lacking there, that is really needed in our communities. So far, the aunties have been focused on like raising their families, making sure their kids adapt into this new culture, new way of being, that they forgot their own identity and their own want of connection. So our initial idea was like, yeah, we will have workshops where we all come together, make flowers, and it will all be just cute day. But that changed from that idea. I think as everything that happens with our young women went from being just flower making session to really creative of them wanting to make candles, perfumes, bring scents from back home that felt that helped them feel warmth of connection, of not just to back home, but when they go home and see their mothers, and when they go out into communities and hang out with their aunties. So we were like, well, the funding does allow us a leeway to do that, so let's do that. From there on, we started making candles, perfumes, and then that went into like, oh, let's make body creams because that's my way of feeling warmth. And all our products, I think, speak to a sense of what is really needed in our community. It's not just a connection for another service, or it's not just a connection for another I don't know how to explain it, but outlet, but it's a connection of feeling a need for identity, a sense of belonging, a safe space where they can just go and feel seen and heard. So we decided to make our impact workshops rather than just about, oh, like come here and tell us what is going on for you, rather than just come here and make something. And if you want to talk, then you can talk. If you don't want to talk, then you don't have to talk, but just come here. And what we found by them just coming and being present, they actually open up more than we have experienced in other workshops where we had like agendas of like, or today we're just focusing on like loneliness or isolation or like self-care. But when we just ask them, just come as you are and just be and make whatever you want to make. We have the products, we have the resources, we have the space for you. They opened up a lot more than we had anticipated for them to open up. And last week we had actually a workshop where we did a inter-community workshop where we invited like Australian aunties that were born and raised here to like a refugee aunties that came here as migrants or refugees, asylum seekers, and to see the interconnection and the interconversation that was happening was so beautiful, because for so many of them they felt this uh, gap or loss of like, oh, I can't reach out to outside my community because I don't know the language, they're not going to understand my culture. So there was this mind barriers that divided the community, but when we facilitated that space where they could come together and just have a shared identity, of just, yeah, there was a beautiful connection that was formed. And at the moment with MOA, our demographic that we work with is families that have been here for more than like 3 to 4 years. That sort of fell off that initial like full-on service. But like Kelly said, wherever there's help needed, we're there. Our young women are thriving incredibly, and we have part of MOA is also skilled employment. So as much as we really value creating impact workshops and community connection, a lot of our young women feel a sense of loss when it comes to seeking out employment or even knowing people to reach out to help with their resumes, cover letters, and stuff like that. So we've been doing a older sister mentor type, where we have young women that have participated in our programs before, helping them with their journey of employment. So whether it is like helping them with their cover letters, helping them practice for interviews, what to wear, what to say, and obviously we do the skill in-house as well of them learning like retail skills, of them coming to the markets with us and like interacting with the customers, of how to sell, how to talk to someone else, and just understanding the background of admin stuff that goes into a retail experience. Um, And at the moment with MOA, something that we're really interested in looking at, and a lot of the aunties have been asking for, having a intergenerational disco night. So we we don't really want to I think it's really important to stick to traditional ways of helping community connect, but I also think it is really fun to be silly sometimes when it comes to human connections. I don't think we're meant to be like so formal and like just I don't think that's what connection is about. I think people make beautiful connections the moment that they're able to let go of that initial layer of being so presentable and just like, and a lot of the aunties, that is what they have to be to their daughters of, this strict, this good mother. They have to play this good role all the time. So to have a disco night where they just dance and sing and just let go of that image that they feel like they have to portray, I think is going to be really beautiful. And the response that we have gotten so far has been incredibly overwhelming. So it goes to show the need for a space, a safe space for them to have not just a level of just a sense of belonging, but dignity as well. To come as themselves. The main goal of MOA is to create a social cohesion that is community focused, but collectively from within. So we work with community not for themselves, but for others as well. And we don't really want to better community per se, but we want to work the journey with community to see what we can do collectively to help, to help our neighbors, to help lend a hand or have a coffee, have a tea. So we don't have set ideas for our workshops. Really, whatever our we go in, and mostly we work with community leaders to get like referral services. So whatever group that we're working in that moment, what they say that they want to work on, that's what we do. So that's what most of our impact workshops is about. And I hope I've explained what MOA is and what we do here quite well. But yeah, thank you. I can rumble on forever, but thank you so
You def
much.
you definitely explained it well. Thank you so much, Naz. Yeah, that was an amazing overview. I love how you've intertwined that intergenerational connection in there, and also the skills development. And I think it's really nice how you're basing the social activities around an activity of some sort, because as you mentioned, it kind of creates that soft entry point for people to come there but not feel pressured to talk or stick to an agenda or anything like that. So thank you so much. Kelly, I'm going to hand over to you next to talk about the Go After Your Goals program. Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. I'm from Mareeba Shire. Mareeba Shire Council's feeling very lucky to be invited to participate in the panel. Our program came about because of the PALM scheme that after COVID we had increasingly smaller numbers of backpackers coming to work on our farms and in agriculture. So the PALM scheme was created to bring over Pacific Island workers on a temporary basis. The workers came mainly from Vanuatu, also from Samoa, and some from other Pacific islands. It was a little bit of a shock for the local community to have large number of workers come in all at the one time. It was very obvious around town that these people were new to the community, and I think there was a little bit of a gap in the process of bringing the workers into the community. So they faced some fairly negative commentary on social media. That's why Mareeba Shire Council decided to do something about it to create a more welcoming and inviting community reaction to the workers when they come into town. So the Go After Your Goals program was initiated. It's a sporting program, which was great for the workers. They're young, fit males and females who really value sport in their hometowns, especially football. So the target of our program was inclusivity through sport and mainly through the football. This photo here, though, we had a barbecue and barefoot bowls afternoon. So we had 55 workers come along, and it was just a social event, and we played some games and gave out some vouchers, food vouchers as prizes, and everyone just had a lovely time. So it was really important that the profile of the workers was addressed within community. And sport is a fantastic forum for this. There was natural leaders that came and registered for the program and then went about helping their peers and their teammates to fill in the paperwork. There was registration for the grant, then there were sporting memberships and insurance papers, and there was a lot of paperwork. So throughout the program, I have been really, really blessed with fellas who've stepped up and taken initiative to help their peers to register and participate in the program. And even word of mouth is the way we get memberships and people signed on. So usually on a Friday, the farms have a half day, and I get people coming along to the library. Usually there might be 2 or 3 groups of 5 people wanting to register, and they just rock up at the library. Usually it is my lunchtime, so I get someone to give them a tour around the library while I finish my lunch, and then we join them up. So it's been a really casual, friendly relationship with the workers, and because of the leaders who are letting them know that it's not only the membership to clubs that we're providing, we're also providing them with kit. So we provide them with shoes, shorts, shin guards, socks, whatever they need to go along to a training session and feel like they're part of the team. So a lot of the workers have very casual clothes because they're working outside on farms. And it makes them really proud. I was saying to Sarah, the fellas go in to look for football boots and they all want the bright colours and they're not looking for the best or the most expensive shoes, but you can see a sense of pride in them that they're now able to attend training and play in the games, and this is having a really positive effect within the community. The workers are becoming more than just a homogenous group of people who are in our town temporarily. They're being known for, the goalkeeper in the first grade Bulls team is amazing. And then, you've got other fellas participating regularly, and their faces are just becoming known around town. They're being respected for their team playing. They're turning up to training regularly, and they're really putting something important back into the community. So that's a huge thing. In my research, I've been having a look at FIFO workers, and they talk about burdensomeness, which is people coming into the community and feeling like they're a liability. So these guys are really proud of their sporting ability. They're amazing. They are really amazing. When you see them training, I'm like, whoa, that's my fellas. So they're really proud of that. And our soccer team's actually coming along in leaps and bounds. We're winning lots of games, so the community is also coming on board and being proud of the contribution these fellas and ladies are making. So yeah, it is a really, really positive recreational activity for the whole of the worker cohort as well. We've given out tennis rackets and soccer balls so that they train and play social games in their accommodation. And it's just the farms. There's one farm particularly who has been really forward in promoting the program and giving the guys reminders and giving them the courage to step up and say, yes, I want to be involved. And they've seen a significant increase in happiness when the fellas are working. So yeah, I really do feel blessed to be involved in the program. So we've had 110 workers register for the program. Rockridge have workers coming and going. So there's always, new people that are coming on board. And out of their 150 to 200 Pacific Island workers, 90% of those workers are return workers. So the term I've come across mainly from the FIFO research is circular migration, and that has its own problems. The FIFO term is thwarted belonging, which I think is a great term, and basically it means that the fellas come from their home to their work destination and feel disconnected from the community, a lack of belonging. But this also translates back to the home. So they go home for 3 months in a year. They work in Mareeba for 9 months in the year, go home for 3 months. And they're still experiencing those feelings of not quite belonging back at home. So we really need to do something to continue the integration and the inclusion and ensure these people aren't lonely, feeling loneliness and isolation for the 9 months they're here. That's, most of their lives. They're in Mareeba, and yeah, we're going to continue. Mareeba Shire is committed to making this work out. It works financially for both parties, and the social fabric of the community is what we need to consider now. So yeah, that's the Go After Your Goals program. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Thanks for that really great overview. I really like how you firstly knew the needs of that cohort really well, and that they were really into sport. And I also like that you um, helped with purchasing a kit for them, because I think that really helps feeling like you're part of a team when you're all wearing the same uniform and in that same activity. So yeah, thank you so much for that overview. So we're just going to move on to another question for each of the panelists. Naz, I'm just going to go to you, and I was hoping you could provide a bit more information on the key impacts of social isolation and loneliness that you've observed in the communities that access the MAUA program, and how has your program addressed those issues?
Okay. So I think something that we noticed was like social outing. So a lot of our young women feeling like they had no spaces to go to where they could just hang out or be. Um, even same with the aunties, it was always like, oh, I'm going to the shops to get food for my kids and I'm going to go back home. Or I'm going to TAFE, so I'm going to go back home. So we wanted to create a place where they could come and just hang out. So we have started our like Wednesday morning breakfast where they come, have tea and biscuits and just have like chats with each other. So for that day, there's no like a topic on agenda. They just come, bring, sometimes they even bring their own tea. I think I'm getting tired of having tea now. But it's just a space where they come have tea and biscuits and talk to each other. And then obviously our other workshops, we have like Brambur Night, which is a Somalian traditional dance where they come together and they have their own drums and they do I guess I wouldn't call it singing, but more like poetry, but in the format of like say slam poetry. And each lady goes at a time, and the drummer is there, and as they're doing the thing, and then someone will jump in and dance. So it's just been like each culture, what do they have that they find a sense of joy and a sense of like identity or connection to, and then we host that theme night, and afterwards we have a discussion, and we actually have had at least I think now 6 women that I've met through our initial impact workshops that have formed their own friendship because they live in the same suburb. So now they have tea and biscuit at their local park with their kids. And the other day they sent me photos, and I like it literally melted my heart to see that they were in the same area code, but they didn't know that they were seeking the same connection. So for me to have seen that is really beautiful. So we have addressed, once we noticed that they wanted something to do, to go to look forward to on a Saturday night or on a Friday night or even a Wednesday morning, tea and biscuits. Once we noticed that they wanted that social outlet, we have formed, like the dance nights or the Wednesday morning breakfast. And then we also have a online group chat where they like all of them are included in. So if like they obviously have their area code that they post, and if there was ones that are nearby, then they connect from there on. Um, yeah. So
Thank
we
you so
have a
much, Naz.
thank you.
Oh, sorry, were you mentioning something else?
Oh, no, that's pretty much it. That covers it. Thank you.
Thank you. I really like how those community members then formed their own connections and, met with each other in the park. I think it's such a nice thing when these programs form long-term connections like that. That's really great success. Kelly, Kelsey, I'm just going to move over to you now. Are you able to highlight some of the key successes of the Good Neighbour program and also some of the obstacles and challenges that you've encountered in implementing the program?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Sarah. I think probably echoing us there, some of the main successes of our program are reciprocal friendships. I think it's really important to me and our team that it's not us as service providers or volunteers, but actually it's a community effort from both sides. And so there's been incredible connections that have been fostered because of that. And we really encourage our volunteers to make these connections their own. And so we've seen real connections at family dinners happen outside of the program delivery. And so that's really a joy for me. And I think probably joy is actually another, these are both friendship and joy are different, difficult to measure sometimes. But I think our community events have been a real place where we get to foster joy as part of the program. And I think that's when connection happens. And as Naz was sharing, sometimes the best way to connect is to dance. And so there's always dancing at our community events led by our lovely Yazidi friends. I think probably the other learning and success for us is that effective support starts with listening well. And that's been a really interesting thing for our organisation to learn, that when you're in the home of somebody, they open up in a way that we don't see in our other programs. And so that's been amazing for us to not only just learn about their needs in a very real and direct way, but that openness is kind of providing a really rich foundation for building trust and also tailoring our support. And truthfully, not just within this program, but in our service delivery in general. It's been really wonderful to hear consistent needs expressed. Some of those are around mental health. And so we're at the moment trying to start a mental health support service as well. And so, yeah, it's been wonderful to kind of effectively survey as we go and through just natural friendship building, helping us to kind of co-design some initiatives that really meet the needs of the community as expressed by themselves. In terms of challenges and obstacles, we have specific challenges because of language and culture. And so there's been a real need in our volunteer cohort for cultural and linguistic competence. And this has been difficult, particularly because we're surfacing communities that come from linguistically isolated backgrounds. Particularly in Toowoomba, for those who don't know, there's quite a large Yazidi community who are a beautiful group from the north of Iraq who speak Kurdish Kurmanji. And so all of the Kurdish Kurmanji speakers in Toowoomba are Yazidi, and so they're on the same journey. And so it's this interesting line we have to walk sometimes, where the people we need to do the supporting are also the people we are supporting. So that's been a challenge, particularly for that Yazidi community. They experienced a genocide about 10 years ago, and so a lot of that trauma is very new, and understandably a lot of that community is not in the position to be a volunteer at this stage. And there's all sorts of incredible complexity there that we have on our volunteer team, a Yazidi from Syria who speaks a different dialect to the Kurdish Kurmanji speakers from northern Iraq. And so we're doing our best to manage that, but there's a real need in our volunteer community, and particularly because there really isn't isolation like language isolation. And so it's really important to us that it's not just helping them communicate, but also really helping them feel deeply seen and understood. But we have had some really creative examples come through from our volunteer community. We have a volunteer who always takes a board game when they go to home visits. And it's been a wonderful way of connecting, particularly with kids, but just non-verbal ways of building connection as well. So yeah, that's some of our current challenges across all of our programs, but yeah, work worth doing. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Kelsey. I really like those examples of working with those language barriers, but still being able to create connection even through not talking. It's amazing how that can happen. Thanks so much for sharing that. That's some really good learnings, I'm sure, for other people online today who are delivering programs as well. So thank you. Kelly, I'm just going to go into you now for our final panel discussion. Obviously, there are libraries located all throughout Queensland, and I think libraries have really evolved to be more than just a place where you go to borrow a book. They've kind of become a hub for, I guess, social interaction in the community. Are you able to talk a bit more about the role libraries can play in supporting their local communities?
Yes, I'd love to. Libraries are always evolving. We have gone from being traditionally a storage place for literature and books to doing amazing programs targeting social issues, community concerns, mental health, physical well-being and well-being just in general. So I've got a little list here. Libraries are a safe space for all. Libraries have been labelled as a third space in the community, a safe space. So families, the first place, then your church or religious affiliation is the second space, and libraries have been labelled the third space of safety and collaboration, coming together, sharing ideas and building community. I actually like to think of modern libraries as being more proactive than just offering a space for community. We have targeted programming. We work relentlessly to make connections with organisations in our community. Mareeba libraries have really good relationships with Mulungu and Numbai, which are our Indigenous health centres. We host their Mums and Bubs program at Mareeba once a month. And we are, because of the connections with organisations and individuals in our community, I think we're really in tune with what's happening on the ground in the moment. So we hear about issues, we hear about people's gaps in service provision, and we're able to act as a referral service. We also do bibliotherapy, which is suggesting book titles that may support people with specific problems. And if we don't have a title in our little library service, we have the means of connecting with other libraries all over Australia and borrowing books from, New South Wales or Western Australia or wherever the titles are. So ALIA is our professional association, and they've recently compiled some statistics. So there are huge numbers of libraries and library patrons in Australia. Across the board, small remote communities are serviced by the State Library Indigenous Knowledge Centres. Rural communities are also serviced by the State Library. There's a rural library service scheme, so they're provided all their resources from the State Library. And then independent libraries, there is 13,600 library services across Australia, and they're staffed by just over 19,000 fully qualified librarians. Again, there's the independent libraries, but there's also the really tiny library services in our Indigenous communities, and they're offered the same sort of support that a local library can give their customers, which is digital literacy assistance, early literacy with baby rhyme time programs. So we are really invested in supporting our communities and everyone in the community, which is, I think, what makes libraries unique as well. We, aren't specific to one economic group or one level of society or, people with the same cultural beliefs. We're a place where people come together and talk about their different ideas, values, beliefs. Libraries are impartial and welcoming. And I think our referral services are probably something that makes us a cornerstone with connecting people with social services and with health information, government information. We do sessions on MyGov. We do Medicare sessions. We have representatives from government departments coming in, sitting in the library for an afternoon and just talking to whoever is interested. So I love my libraries. Yeah. And we like to help. We like to get involved in whatever's going on in the community at the time. So yeah, I think that more and more government departments and social services are programming information centres with the libraries to get out to our community. Yeah.
Thank you, Kelly. I can definitely hear how passionate you are about libraries. And, I think in a lot of rural, regional and remote communities, sometimes libraries are one of the only places for people to go to for that information and referrals and support. So they're really, really vital. And it's fantastic that most communities do have a library and do have that place to access as a safe and welcoming space to go to. So thank you. Thanks very much to all of our panelists for your contributions today. It's been fantastic to hear about your programs. And now there's going to be the opportunity for all of you to get into a breakout room and connect with each other and talk about some of the programs that are happening in your own communities. So I'm just going to share my screen so that you can see our discussion question for the breakout rooms today. So the question is, what innovative approaches to addressing social isolation and loneliness have you seen in your community? So you'll be in a room, there'll be probably 8 of you in a room, and you'll have one of us as a facilitator. And yeah, feel free to discuss this question, and you can also talk about some of the strengths of the program, maybe some of the challenges that you've seen. But yeah, really looking forward to hearing what's going on in all of your communities. So we'll pop you into breakout rooms now, and you'll see something come up on your screen to join a group. And yeah, we look forward to talking more in those groups. Hi again, everyone. Thanks for joining us back here. And I hope you all had some good conversations in your breakout rooms. I think we all could probably keep talking for a lot longer. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed being able to connect with others and share your programs with others. So I just wanted to mention that so we're about to finish up, but we do have an evaluation survey that we'd love for you to fill in, just so we can find out how you found the event today. So I'm just going to post the link for that survey in the chat here. So it would be much appreciated if you could fill that in. I just want to say a big thank you again to Kelly, Naz and Kelsey for coming along today and sharing your programs. It's been really valuable to hear your learnings from delivering your programs, and I'm sure everyone online has taken away some information and insights that they can use and keep in mind for their work as well. So thank you again for coming. And thanks so much everyone for attending today's session as well. It's been great to have you along, and thanks for participating in those breakout rooms as well. So yes, that brings us to the end of the session today. We'll be doing another few community of practice sessions throughout the rest of the year. So keep an eye out for those. And yes, we hope to see you at a future one soon. Thanks everyone.